So we're going to overview of the Maimer. Just reminded us as children, yeah. So no one relished really CHAZZARAH review of any subject. We learned it, move on, something new and interesting. So our teacher would tell us, quoting from Kehelas, Ecclesiastes, right? Where there the verse reads like this: that Lev Chacham liyaminoi, uchsil v'lev chachsil v'smoiloi. The heart of the wise is on his right, and the heart of the fool is on his left. Everybody's heart is in the left part of the body. What does it mean? So one of the classic explanations, of course, is that the right refers to the Yetzer Hara and the left to the Yetzer Tov. The Yetzer Hara resides in the right side of the heart, which purifies the blood, and the Yetzer Hara, the left ventricle, the left side of the heart. That's the basic meaning. I don't know where the source is. This is what he said. The Sefer, the Hebrew language, is from right to left. So if you're looking at a Sefer, the right side is the pages previous, and the left is the rest of the book. Hence, the heart of the wise is to the right. He wants to review what he learns. The right side of the Sefer. And the heart of the fool is to the left. I know it already. Move on, let's learn the next thing. So I'm saying that because today we're going to do CHAZZARAH review, just an overview of the Maimer. And I know we're all wise, and so we relish that, right? Of course. So the Maimer is a Shavuos Maimer of Tafshin Chav, 1960. This is the series of Maamar that we're learning. And the Maimer begins with a quote from the Mishnah and Pirkei Avos. The very last chapter, that the Eibishter acquired 5 acquisitions in his world. And the Mishnah goes to enumerate. Torah is one Kinyan, Avram is another Kinyan, Shemayim V'aretz Kinyan, Yisrael Kinyan, one Kinyan, the word Echad repeating, and Beis HaMikdash also Kinyan Echad. And then he brings the various verses. The various verses are very relative, very germane to the Maimer in the end, because as we learned the last couple of days, when talking about Yidden being Hashem's Kinyan, so the Mishnah invokes a pasuk in the context of Hashem's people, but in other sources, the quote is in terms of Hashem's child. And that's the key to understanding the difference between, even in our Mishnah, Yisrael and Avraham. Anyway, so we kind of fast forwarded there and addressed something. That was clear? That's why the Maimer brought all these sources. It's not so, you look up the Mishnah, you see the sources yourself, because at the end, he wants us to contrast the source of our Mishnah, Amzu Kanisa, the people that you've acquired, to another source in the Sifri and other places where it's Haloi hu avicha kanecha, he's your father who acquired you. Anyway, that was clear? Yesterday's conclusion of the Maimer. The servant of Hashem or the child of Hashem. Anyway, the basic questions in the beginning were, why does he invoke the word acquisition? 5 things God created in his world. The answer to that is that a creation implies just that, a creation. These are not creations. These are expressions of Hashem. And because they're expressions of Hashem, the word Kinyan is the appropriate metaphor, because the acquisition of something doesn't change the object. It simply goes from a state of concealment as far as the acquirer or the buyer is concerned. It wasn't in my world, now it is in my world. But whatever wasn't in my world before existed, just not in my world. So these are all levels of godliness that Hashem reveals. Therefore, they're called Kinyan. Why does he say the word Echad for each one? Torah Kinyan Echad, Avram Kinyan Echad, Shemayim. First, we could have just, the Maimer doesn't ask this. The Maimer says should have listed them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Or don't number them at all. We can count 5. Just list them without even giving a number. The answer to that is that they are all Echad, united with Hashem, What comes out at the end of the Maimah is, but ba'olamai, in his world, meaning this world, as all of these 5 things are addressed in this world through Avodah, we reveal even a higher level of echad, of oneness, than their natural oneness, or a higher level of kinyan than their natural kinyan. That seems, again, to be the whole construct of the mind. And that explains, although the mind, as we saw, is incomplete. That explains also why in his world, in the world, Hashem acquired 5 acquisitions in the world. Why his world? It seems that his world is Elam Hazeh, because that's where he desires to be. That did a b'tachtonim. So in this world, these 5 acquisitions, Hashem comes down to the world, Torah comes down to the world, all the things he describes. Then we reveal in Torah and we reveal in our own neshama a level of achtos and kinyan that is not present naturally. Is that clear? That's the general outline of everything. Yes? Yep. Little response? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
Okay, so then, in the next, that was the first ois and some of an outline. So now, he, in an ois base, excuse me, he identifies all the levels. And all of these levels in their natural state, they are, in other words, the Maila in their source. Now, when we say source, friends, you have to remember, this is a continuous theme in Chassidus, there's 2 levels to source. There's the traceable, obvious level, like we say, neshamas come from Atzilus, Chochmah Atzilus. But then there's the source of the source. Of course, the source of the source is always the truly transcendent Atzmos. And the whole Avodah is to reveal the source of the source, and thereby transforming Seder Shtalshalus. And the whole irony is that the source of the source is only accessed here. It's only when these things come down here, this tremendous descent, Torah comes down to the world, Hashem comes down to the world, that the source of the source, the very essence, is revealed. Not just down here, but in the source above, all of Seder Shtalshalus is transformed. A general motif and theme of Chassidus, the whole purpose of life. It's this paradox that neshama comes down from its lofty, pristine height, Atzilus, for what? In order for down here to unlock its true essential source, so the source of the source, which in Atzilus it can't access. The essence of Hashem is to be accessed dafka down here. For all the reasons explained in Chassidus. Number 1, because here's where he wants to be. Okay, so now these 5 things. So without going into a lot of detail, just quickly identifying them without the various sources, just the statement of fact, but they're all fairly obvious. And that is Avraham is Chesed. Torah is Gevurah. That was surprising somewhat. The Torah should be Gevurah. And he explained that Torah really is Chesed. It's Hashem's love for us and communication to us. However, that's Pnimius. But the way Torah comes to us is letters and words and rules. So quite, it's external, the external definition of Torah and its manifested functional state, it is Gevurah. And even Lamaila, it's Gevurah.
Perhaps you can say it's Gevurah Sheba Chesed. It's the way Chesed comes out.
I don't know, he doesn't say that, so I don't know. He doesn't say that. Actually, you could say that, but you could also say it is a Gevurah's rooted height in Chesed, so it's even height in Chesed, period. But anyway, the point being, whatever, as you say, even the Maila, Torah is articulated in words and Seichel, so it's Gevurah. Torah is Gevurah. Going down the line now, Shemayim va'aretz, you will recall, so Chesed and Gevurah are the primary midas. Sorry, Yidden Atiferes, he brings a pasuk there. The neshama embodies both. Yaakov is Tiferes, and he is the founder of the tribes. All his children are holy and Jewish, unlike Avraham and Yitzchak. So he's Tiferes, combination of both. the quintessential Jew. In fact, he's called Yisrael. We're called Bnei Yisrael, not Bnei Avram. We're called Bnei Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. We're never called just Bnei Avram and Bnei Yitzchak in isolation. We are called Bnei Yaakov because he's Tiferes, or Bnei Yisrael. So that's Yidden. So that's the primary midas. We have Chesed, Gevur, and Tiferes. Correct? So now what's left is Shamayim V'Aretz. You recall, Shamayim V'Aretz is Yesoid. What's Yesoid? Yesoid is empathy, fusion. Yesoid is what connects Mashpia and Makabel. That's how they become one. Shamayim is Mashpia, Aretz is Makabel, and Yesoid is that which unites them. And that's Shamayim V'Aretz because the pasuk Ki Koil B'Shamayim V'Aretz, which we say every day in davening, when we go through all the 7 minutes, L'chashem Agdula, V'Gvura, V'Tiferes, V'Nitzach, V'Hoid. We don't mention the word Yesoid outright, but the next words are Ki Koil B'Shamayim V'Aretz. That's Yesoid. Because what's Yesoid? Connection, connectivity, or empathy, with many manifestations of it. So at any rate, Shamayim V'Aretz, heaven and earth, we don't mean them as separate, we mean them as one. That's Yesoid. And the Beis HaMikdash, yeah, we're clear with that? Yep. Fusion of heaven and earth, that's Yesoid. Yes? Yeah. And Beis HaMikdash is Malchus. It's the palace. That's where God's kingdom is established on earth. So he starts off by saying as follows. So the Mishnah said that these 5 acquisitions God acquired in his world. So as they come down to the world, they become very limited. The paradox will be that Dafki in this world, with this world of limitation, are we mamshich the true Kinyan, the true level of Echad. So first he addressed Shamayim V'Aretz, and he noted like this, that Shamayim V'Aretz, quoting the beginning of Bereshis, where the heavens, the rain waters the earth and there is growth, so they're all pointing to this unity of Shamayim V'Aretz, the rain and the growth. It's a wonderful expression of life and of godliness, but it's limited godliness. Our avodah is Shamayim V'Aretz, to make it Kinyan Echad, to reveal the true Echad, the true oneness, the true infinite, the true Bligvul. And that we see Moishe Rabbeinu did that because Moishe Rabbeinu, when talking, summoning heaven and earth as his witness in Parshas Vazinu, he says Hashamayim V'Ha'aretz. What that means is he's being mamshich the highest levels of Atzilus into the world down here, thereby, in this model it's not so clear frankly, but thereby this world becoming suffused with its source. This doesn't really address how the source is suffused with the essence. In the other cases it is. Not so clear here. As I said at the outset, I'm doing a lot of interpretation in this Maimer to make it clear, and everybody's welcome to offer their own explanation. At any rate, so what Moshe Rabbeinu is doing is he's being mamshech the heaven and the earth, the supernal heaven, the supernal earth, according to the Zohar. That's Zoh and Malchus of Atzilus.
That's what perhaps that's what he's saying, that Atzilus is Kinyan. It's one entity as before, and it's only being revealed in Atzilus. It's not Eschachus. It's not something new. And therefore, through Avodah, we're tapping into Atzilus, which is, in essence, a Kinyan with the essence.
It doesn't say. It doesn't then talk about Atzilus being connected to beyond. He just doesn't mention it. It stops there. And Tzorich, look into this further. Okay, going further, see, in Torah and Eden, it's much clearer. Because that even though Torah is infinite, but Eden down here bring even a greater chiddush to bear to Torah, and that is, as we explained, the innovation that we bring to Torah, although naturally it's God's acquisition, it's naturally relatively infinite, but a Jew comes along and dafka down here in Leilam Hazeh, we add to Torah, we illustrated that with Pesach Sheni, but Islavchad and many other things, where heaven acquiesces to the ruling of the court down here, and Hashem says with a smile, You defeated me. The Kudsha Bricha, the Holy One, blessed be He, which is referring to Atzilus, says, you defeated me because you drew on my essence and expanded even the parameters of Torah beyond even as they are expressed in Atzilus. So that's clear. We're down here in Eilamai, we expand the Kinyan Echad of Torah beyond its Kinyan. Beyond its natural Kinyan, right? That's kind of clear, yes? Torah down here, we expand its borders beyond even the Torah above. So we're drawing the essence of Torah into Torah, the author of Torah into Torah. And the author can expand. If you're touching the author, then you can add a chapter. So we only touch, the author of Torah is only touched in this world. Not in heaven. Not in Atzilus even. Ois Gimel. So Ois Gimel talks about Yisrael first. So on the one hand, the neshama before it comes down to the world is tahirahi. What is tahirahi? It's pure. That describes the neshama as it is in Atzilus. It came down here to the world, and yet coming down to the world, the essence of the neshama is unlocked. And how to explain that, the whole mashal of the rope, because we are called the rope of its inheritance. Of all things, a rope. Why that metaphor? The point of the rope is to say that it's a vertical rope. So when the rope is shaken above, it tremors below, and the rope is shaken from below. There's ripple effect above. So it works two ways. First, he said that sometimes out of nowhere, we are aroused to do tshuva. This didn't come from nothing happened. It just pops into my head, enough. This got to change. Where does this come from? So Chassidus explains, because there's these heavenly voices that issue in heaven, and the neshama up there hears it. So, of course, there's a tremor down here, which explains what's the point of these heavenly voices if we don't hear them, because we don't consciously. Answer is the mazel level of the neshama. Mazel, remember, means the source, does hear these heavenly voices. And that explains this yisodus that can happen out of nowhere. Now, what needs to be explained, which we addressed briefly, is we should hear every day there. Why only sometimes? Okay. Whatever the answers to that is, that only sometimes are we open to what's, to feeling what's happening in the source above, where the line of communication is fluid. Not always. But the point being, for a host number of factors, but the point being that the arousal from above causes arousal below. But the same is true, and even more so the other way around. That when there's an awakening from below, Kabbalah soil, Iskafia, all the nitty-gritty hard work, so this causes a tremendous elevation in the neshama above. And what it reveals is the essence of the neshama beyond the neshama being in Atzilus. So the neshama is a kinyan, but in this world, the closeness is far greater. The very core essence of the neshama is revealed and stirred. More detail into that, how this happens. So he said that happens, how the neshama elevated, even the neshama in its natural holy state. So he explained the whole biddur of the nefesh habahamis, by the neshama riding the nefesh habahamis and channeling it. So the neshama is lifted to heights it ordinarily couldn't achieve. In the words of the pasuk, there are many harvests in the power of the ox, far more than a person himself could yield tilling his field. Harness the ox, way beyond. So the godly soul is essentially this very, it's the nefesh elikis is dominated by seichel, by chacham bin das. It's objective, it understands, and it's therefore, because its whole relationship naturally is intellectual, then it's kind of a placid, intellectual and good little soul or big soul. Nefesh habahamis, however, as he explains, comes from toihu, comes from a level really higher than Atzilus, the shattering of the vessels. So the nefesh habahamis is crazy and wild and uncontained, and really has a higher energy, and it's dominated by the midas, by emotion. Midas are rooted deeper in the soul than intellect is. At the end of the day, the essence of the human being is not his intellect; it's his feelings. That's the deepest part of him, even though in the hierarchy, head is higher than emotion and can control emotion, but we're first and foremost emotional. So, but the nefesh elikis is not that way. It's first and foremost intellectual. So it comes down to the world that discovers passion, really, and craziness and intensity, shtus, folly. So its whole avodah is to take the shtus, the folly of Nefesh Bahamis, and make it shtus the kedusha, the madness of holiness, or the folly of holiness, which is something amazing to the Nefesh Elikis and foreign to its natural state. So therein lies the first kind of aliyah that the neshama has down here. But then the Rebbe adds more than that. It's not just that the Nefesh Elikis rides, as it were, and learns from and is harnessed to the tremendous energy of the Nefesh Bahamis once channeled in the service of God. We also added the Nefesh Bahamis in the end, he wants to be tamed. Number one, because he's just seeking pleasure. And Nefesh Bahamis understands that the greatest pleasure is in Elikus, then let's go for it. But moreover, as we said, the Mashal of the Zaina, even as Nefesh Bahamis with all of its wiles tries to seduce us, deep down it's saying, do not succumb to me. Channel me. Lift me up. The Nefesh Bahamis is the loyal subject of the king, like the Mashal of the harlot. So that's level one. Level one is that Nefesh Elikis being introduced to and writing a whole new level of service of God, passion, intensity, and craziness, but good craziness. Going beyond its natural limits, which are all rational and intellectual and beautiful, but predictable. Nefesh Elikis, which is the quintessential tzaddik, metaphorically, you look at him today, you can tell exactly who he's going to be in 10 years. He'll learn so much, he'll become so much more refined, and he's a predictable and therefore rather boring person. But if he engages his Nefesh Bahamis, which separating it through just for purposes of clarity, then not predictable. Radical change, radical achlatas, crazy stuff. In the words of the Rebbe, is the toyu b'kenim tikkun, the lights of toyu that filtered in tikkun in the natural order of the world. It's not a license to be crazy and burn the world with godliness. It's all got to permeate the world. But the point is the world is waiting for this because the world in essence is crazy. It just wants good craziness, holy craziness, not destructive craziness. That's really the drive behind everything. But beyond that, so not only does the Nefesh Elikis, learn all of this and be lifted by the Nefesh Bahamis, but through the Avodah with the Nefesh Bahamis, unlocks its own essence, which is beyond even the world of the Nefesh Bahamis. Because the Neshama is verily a part of Hashem, a part of God. Not talking Toyo, this extraordinary, place where the infinite and the finite encountered in the Shviras Akeh, in the shadow of the vessels. It's a very high level of light, which is even higher than Atzilus. But the Neshama Be'emes is mamish. So that mamish, its very essence, it can only access through the struggle and the subsequent channeling of the Nefesh Bahamis. So two things happen. First, it learns the Nefesh Bahamis learns from it and is inspired by it and lifted by its passion and intensity. And then even a deeper thing happens, its own essence becomes unlocked, that it's verily a part of God above, totally eclipsed and inaccessible as the neshama is in its original classic source, Atzilus. Okay. Continuing now. So in more detail, Avram Kinyanim. Avram's level is, his source above is a very lofty source. Chesed, Gvur, Tiferes, because he embodies all of them, the first of them, of Arich, of Keser, very lofty level. But then, coming down here, he unlocks Avram's Avodah, which is this very powerful Chesed. But then coming down to this world, the same model, he unlocks the Pnimius of Keser, an essential level to his own Avodah of Chesed. But then,
I'm sorry. So is he saying that it's possible to unlock through the Avodah of Abraham? Because at the end of the Maamar, he emphasizes the Dafka through the Avodah of Yaakov, which is Eved.
Right. So
here he's saying in a certain sense, if the Avodah of Abraham is done properly, you can still tap into Atik, which is the Kninim of the Keser, which is where an Eved, which is Yisrael, taps into. So what's the Chiddush?
Not, well, that comes later, just the distinction, the Maila of Eved of a Ben. But first of all, yes, the Avodah of Avram coming down here, and the Avodah of having Avos Hashem and Bina Dafka Lamata Leilam Haza, yes, unlocks Pnimis Atik. The Avodah of Eved in that Gufa is higher still. It's just, that's a nuance. That the Avodah of Eved has a Maila over the Avodah of Ben. But both of them are Avodah down here and come through tremendous effort and unlock an essential level. The difference being that, like this, that in the Avodah of Avram, he's talking specifically about the Avodah of Chesed and its source. When he speaks about the Avodah of Eved, it's the Klolos HaNeshama, Kabbalas oil in every area, not just Chesed, Maisa B'Poel. So it's a more general Avodah, and it touches deeper. There's Pnimis Atik, there's Etzer Mamish. So within that, Eved is higher still. But clearly saying now, Avram Kinyan Echad, that coming down into the world, doing Chesed down here, with the Arabs and the travelers and bringing godliness to the world, all the things that he did, unlocked within his Avodah of Chesed, a whole different level of Chesed. And relatively speaking, Atzmi's Dikah level, relatively speaking, Atik. Then there's Avodah of Eved, which is even in a nuanced way deeper still. But that's at the end of the Maimon. Yeah? So this is what happens now. From Ois Dalet to the end of the Maimon, is explaining without going to all of the sources now, but explaining the difference between the two. And as we said at the outset now, between which two, Avram and Yisrael, that Avram is the child, and Yisrael represents the Eved because of the different psukim that the various sources from Shir HaShirim, etc. Right, as we said at the beginning this morning, that Yidden being described as Hashem's acquisition, you find two scriptural sources, one in the context of a son, one in the context of a people. They're two different levels. The son is really the Avram one, and the people one, which Al Braisa uses, therefore it makes the distinction, is the people one. So explain what child means. A very beautiful explanation, the word bina, because the word bina contains the word ben, which means child. So what's bina? Bina means to understand, to meditate, to contemplate, to really understand. So what's bina? Ben Yud K. In order to have this child loving relationship with God, which is implied by the term Ben, which means child. Moreover, emotions are children born from intellect. As he says in Tanya, chapter 3, that intellect are called father and mother, specifically Chacham is father, Bin is mother, and children are called the offspring, the Toldos of Chabad, as he explains there. So therefore the word child is a reference to the midas, a loving relationship, which is what a child has. So how does the ben happen? Through the meditation in the Yud K. What's the meditation that the Jew thinks about? He thinks about with these two letters, Yud and Hey alone, God created everything. With the Yud, Hashem creates the heavenly worlds, and with the Hey, Hashem creates this world. So what's the whole meditation? Simple letters. That's the whole investment. The whole output of the divine is just an expression of a letter, Yud, boom, all of the higher worlds. Hashem says, hey, as it were metaphorically, this world comes into being, all the quotations that we have. All to say that there's this negligible, marginal investor of godliness in creating heaven and earth as extraordinary as heaven and earth is. And yet Hashem makes his very essence available to us through Torah and mitzvahs. And that's what he loves and wants. His appreciation of that, his desire for that, not for Gashmius, not even for Ruchnius. Because what's Gashmius and what's Ruchnius? Even Ruchnius, even the spiritual world is only the singular letter, the letter Yud. And what's a letter? Looking at himself, producing one letter compared to all the words I can say, compared to all the thoughts I can think, and compared to the essence of my soul, just one saying Yud, or one saying, or producing a Hey, it disappears compared to the output of a human being in the course of a lifetime. And for sure, for God is infinite. Just to say a letter, a singular letter, it's beyond negligible, I'm sorry. So what do I want? You. And you have given yourself to me in Torah and mitzvah. So that engenders this love. So that's the union of the Ben. And that's Avraham. However, he goes on to say that not everybody shaykh to that, to this great meditation, to stir the heart and have these loving feelings of longing and desire, which Avraham embodies, Bina. So that's the Avodah of the simple servant. The simple servant, that's the Amzukanis, the people that you have acquired. So even us, as it were, and we went into the detail of, even in our study of Torah, because the nuance here is this. The Pasuk says, we quote this every day in Enkelakenu, great peace to your children. Banoyach. Your children, listen to the nuance. I don't think I spelled it out. We learned this yesterday, 2 days ago. Banoyach, your children. So children, that's Avraham. That's the Avodah of Ava. However, our sages say, don't read Banoyach. This is in Enkelakenu. Elo Banoyach, your builders. Who are your builders? Same letters, just a different vowel. These are the Talmidei Chachamim who build the world through the study of Torah. Detail to that. Every letter is building. Letters create words, and words are building, and Torah builds the world. So here's the point. Ideally, the builders are the children. A Jew suffused with love and awe of God is a result of profound meditation, Bina, producing the Ben, the child loving relationship. But even if that's missing, because we're not our intellect and we're not so intellectually profound, and our hearts are not so responsive, we can understand it and heart remains unmoved. Little excitement in the head, maybe, beautiful idea, but it doesn't penetrate us or serve the heart. So we're not Ben, but nonetheless, he says, learning Torah, he's still a builder. If you learn Torah, even with Kabbalah Sel means because not inspired, but it's the thing you got to do. So you do Torah, learn Torah, do mitzvahs, you are still building the world, and you're revealing godliness in the world and carrying out the mission. Even if it's just the brick labor. You're just putting the bricks in place and it's sweating under the sun, rather be sailing, but you're sitting and learning and doing mitzvahs. So that's the avodah of the Eved. That too is a builder. Even if you're not the Ben, you're still a builder. So even now, through Limud Torah, he says, when it's out of bittul, like a servant, the yoke of heaven, not inspired, like can't wait to do this, but out of a sense of obligation. So this also is mamshech likus into the world. And then he finally answers, it's not just also. It's not just also. The avoid, this was yesterday's final paragraph, that the avoid of the Eved has a maila over the avoid of the Ben. And we said yesterday, classically, the reason is because fear and respect in the end is selfless, and love is self-fulfilling. Love is an experience that fills the heart. I love you, I love you. And this is a loving and fulfilling experience. I'm in awe of you, and respect you is making space for you. So there's the virtue to awe and fear. It's more selfless. It's more about you than love is. Because I love you is I'm enjoying this experience, this connection, this closeness to you. But respect is putting self out of the picture and making space. That's a classic example brought in Chassidus. The Rebbe went much further here, or the classic explanation, I'm sorry. And the Rebbe said that even the lowest level of fear, which classically is fear of punishment, that's selfish. I don't want to get punished. So the Rebbe says, really, why aren't you going to get punished? What are you afraid of punishment for? Because why is there punishment? Punishment means because I stained my soul. And the punishment is not, oh, you sinned, now hurt. No, punishment is cleansing. So I've got to go through this cleansing. So who have I blemished? My neshama, which is a part of you. So what have I done to you? That's really what lies at the fear of the punishment. There's an extraordinary, insight that the Rebbe is not going to leave it alone. He's afraid of punishment and it's selfish and at the end of it. No, probe deeper into the heart of the Jew. What's really fearful here is not that, oh, this is going to hurt. When they clean me, it's that I have to be clean to begin with. That I've got to be cleansed because I sullied my godly soul, which is really a part of Hashem. I blemished God, really. The affront that I've done to you. That's what lies just below the surface of even the most selfish fear of punishment for a Yid, which is quite, as we said, extraordinary revelation. And again, I don't see in the sources here, they don't point to any other place in Chassidus where this is articulated. But that's what the Rebbe says here. So what he adds at the end is that the avodah of the Eved, of the simple servant, at the lowest level, he does what he does because if he doesn't, there are consequences. But deep down, that it has an element of a connection that's even deeper than the highest loving relationship of the Ben. So the Rebbe is telling us, don't think that you are compromised. So you don't have such a profound intellect, and we're alone neshamas, friends. We're not these supple, lofty, responsive souls that think about godliness and the heart's inflamed. And we're just not. And we're learning another mind, we're just like chipping away at this rock. So what can we do? That's what we are with these low souls. No. The Eved, even at the lowest level of the Eved, touches Hashem in a way that the child doesn't. Of course, the ultimate is both. To be both Avodim and Bonim, Avinu, Malkeinu. By our generation is the generation of the simple servant. We learn Chassidus, we're learning about the Ben and all of these great loves and meditations. On some degree, on some level, it does inspire us. And to some degree, intellectually at least, there's excitement and there is inspiration, even emotionally. But it's not the love that Avram, that Tzaddikim, the former generations experienced. Oblivious to their surroundings, in rapturous love for God, and absolutely no love for materialism. Not impressed at all. That's not our world. But our world is, we are impressed. We do like nice things. But our world is avodah eved, kabbalah soil, despite. But in that despite lies this very deep connection. As the Rabbi is saying over here, even if we're doing this because we don't want to, suffer the hellfires, that really is coming from a very deep and wonderful place too. The fear of punishment is really, what have I done to you?